Hey guys, welcome to Brickstars. Today we're going to show you how we made this photo of the pumpkin harvest. We started off with this moving truck, which was a gift with purchase from Lego, and we wanted to really make this more 1950s. So what we're doing here is putting in the back of the truck and trying to hide the studs to give it a more refined and smooth look.
We took inspiration from the Lego Icons pickup truck set, which has sort of a fall harvest and some Christmas elements, but we found out that this truck that came with the gift set did look authentically like 1950s, and that one did as well. So that was kind of our starting point and inspiration for taking this truck and trying to add the side rails. Now, the nice thing about this truck is the build of it is really nice. It has this front grille that's sort of circular and curved, and it adds that much more 3D. It's not just a square front like you'll find on most of these truck builds. Now, as a Brickstar, I have a lot of these Lego City vehicles and I collect them.
Whereas you can kind of see in the background a bit, I collect more of the system, 90s system, Forestman, Castle, Pirates. So we've got a combined collection that captures various themes.
So the next thing after adding the bed is just sort of playing with the cheese pieces, the cheese block, to see how we can make the rear kind of flush with the back of the truck. Now, the one tricky bit of this part was there was that beige piece on the back that we wanted to hide. Obviously, we could have taken apart more of the build and just replaced that with either a red piece or a white piece, but that we were trying to optimize how intense we do this build, this mock, and just make it as sort of get the visual across without making it maybe too in depth. And I think it worked, because when you see this, you could see that the back, the white and red work really nicely, but also it fits all these pumpkins in the boxes, and that's exactly what we want to go for in this photo.
I think what I like about that is we probably only used 20 to 30 pieces, and we've made the truck look completely different. So what we have here is we filled the back with pumpkins, and this features not just the orange pumpkins, but the newly released dark orange pumpkins. And finally, we add our farmer minifigure.
We usually set up the scene by putting this sheet on the bottom to prevent a mess. You're going to see we're going to put dirt or sand or all sorts of different things that we don't want to create a mess. We have the screen behind where we're going to be showing an image. In this case, it's going to be sort of farmers' fields.
Some of you may recognize that set in the back from the Mill Village Raid, one of the best sets Lego's made in our opinion. So it is a more medieval building, but what you'll see is the blur and the focus of the photo, it's going to be more of an accessory in the back.
The dirt that's being poured here is real dirt, and we tend to use real materials and store-bought materials like the trees. Now, the display behind will be turned on momentarily, and we're going to be getting a photo of a farmer's field, something that won't take too much attention from the things in the subject. Rather, it'll just serve as a background.
At this point, we've got most of the terrain put in place, and we start adding the Lego elements. So this is really where the fun begins. We arrange the truck, we start putting the pumpkins. You can see here we're having some trouble keeping them in place. A lot of times we'll do some tricks to hold different parts, but in this case we just have them sitting there. And then we play with the angles. We've been experimenting with different angles, different lighting, and we have something that we think works. Once that's set up, we add a couple more elements, some trees, some rocks, a little bit more dirt, and then we start taking the photos.
Don't forget the details. You see, this stage is where we start to really get finicky with all the little details, because the overall photo setup, we have the things in the foreground, the truck, we have the background, the barn, all the natural elements, the trees. But now we put the bunny, the carrots, the pumpkins, just really add. There's corn you see there, and sometimes we'll go and find little flowers, actual garden flowers, and put them in the photo, just little elements that will take the photo from being good to what we believe is excellent.
And what we're doing here is playing with the levels of focus. So some things are closer to the camera, some things are further away. It's going to add a different dimension to the photo once everything's finished.
Now's the part where we take the photo, so we make sure the focus is set right. We adjust the aperture to make sure that what we want is in focus and what we don't want is blurred out. Now we've imported the raw photo into Photoshop and we begin the editing. So I've been working in Photoshop for a while, so I do know a couple things, including now we're just editing the raw photo, which is the format the DSLR ends up giving us. So after the tones are all set and everything's ready to go, we'll import it into the regular Photoshop where we begin the effects and the rest of the magic. Now with us in Photoshop, the first thing we usually begin with is the lighting. And there's certain things that we do like to brighten up unless there's a specific reason to keep a shadow, but in this case there's not. So we do want the attention to be on the beautifully colored minifig, the carrots, the pumpkins, all the stuff that has pops of color. I did try playing with the sky, but I think the sky was already a good color. Next, we crop it to the size that looks best on Instagram. We started off by doing square photos, but by now we do sometimes do widescreen or tall photos. Just depends on what the setting is and what the picture focus is. So in this case, we did want to capture the barn and the background, the trees, so this worked out perfectly here, this crop.
The next step brings in our regular template. So we're giving away some of our secrets here, but we've had to become efficient throughout this process. So there's some standard items that we like to include in all our photos, and we find this gives them a certain ambience and helps develop the atmosphere. So what we're adding here is just some dust particles. Of course, this is a scene where we have pigs running around, there's chickens, there's dirt, it's fall time. What we're doing here is fixing up some imperfections from working with natural elements.
The logo on the door is from the moving company, and while it's a little blurred and you don't really see exactly what it is, we first wanted to leave the door just red and have it like a farmer's truck. But at that point, we remembered that the Lego City lineup has a nice logo for the gardeners that we decided to crop and use here. So we're cleaning up the door, making sure that it's all one nice uniform color. Now, of course, the truck is old, so it is okay if it's a little worn down looking. Here's the logo now we're extracting, but of course, this logo is just too clean. It looks brand new, and that's not the way the truck works. So we're gonna fade it out a little bit, give it a bit of a rustic look, and blur it to match the rest of the truck. That's the key here. If you add a thing like this, you have to make sure that it matches the focus of where it belongs in the photo. And the last thing is sort of just using a brush tool to make it look worn down, kind of faded out in the sun. And that's what we're doing right here. With that, this photo's wrapped up, and let's see what we ended up with.